you can see, we have seen an increase in our immediate jeopardy tags. And I really think, a lot of it does kind of go back to staffing. I get that, so I was happy to see and hear, and that's why I so love to have conversation with folks. So, because it's nice to know how much, agency staff are being used out there. It's so nice to see what a lot of facilities are doing to reduce agency staff in their facilities. So as you'll see here, in 2020, we had 60 nursing homes that had immediate jeopardy. Unfortunately, that did rise, and 73 in 2021, 74 nursing homes in 2022, and then unfortunately we do have 74 that have had immediate jeopardy. And this data that we look at is specific, not to calendar year, but federal fiscal year for us. So October the 1st through June 30th, this is where we are right now with our nursing homes. The number of nursing homes. So this isn't tags. This is just the number of nursing homes that have had immediate jeopardy. So I know it's rare if you just have one tag at the immediate jeopardy level. I know sometimes it's 3 or 4. This isn't tags. This is just the number of nursing homes. So I do want to talk about some things. What are we seeing as it relates to immediate jeopardies? And obviously I don't have time to go into like a deep dive into this. But I do think it's important that you understand the categories of IJ non-compliance that we do have and where that falls here in our state. And think about what you can do in your facilities, in your corporations, throughout the state. How can we help you at the agency and partner with you and the associations, and how can we improve this in our state? And it's not by stopping surveys. We're not going to do that. But what can we do? What sort of education can we help provide? As our surveyors, they can't consult and they can't say, oh, well, this is what you need to do to fix this problem. That's not what their job is. But what we can do is talk about some of these findings and go over maybe some things that you can share from a best practice standpoint that you've seen. So as you see, these are our categories. So these are the areas that we have seen the most immediate jeopardy in 2023. So as I mentioned, I don't think I can go back, but as I mentioned, in 2023, from October the 1st to June 30th, we have 74 nursing homes that have had immediate jeopardy. So these are the categories. So neglect is that top category. So this doesn't mean just a neglect tag, or just that neglect area that we see the various categories. Elopement. And we do see, as you know, a lot of elopement. And it's, a lot of you I know have had elopement immediate jeopardies. And if you have an elopement in your facility, well, first of all, don't have any elopements in your facility. And a couple of things that we have found is, if making sure that you know your residents. So that's very important, that you know your residents, staff know your residents. And I'm going to tell you about your activities directors. Have your activities directors to really pinpoint these individuals that are at risk for elopement. So they should know. A lot of you have great assessment tools. You have great assessment tools. You identify that these individuals may be at risk for elopement. So identify them. Talk to your activities staff. Say, hey, what can you do to keep these individuals busy? And then when your activities folks leave, in the evening times, talking to your other staff, your direct care staff or nurses, what can we do to keep these residents busy? What maybe some of their customary routines, to keep them busy. A lot of them, give you signs that they're trying to leave, and they may have Alzheimer's or dementia, but they're giving you signs, right? They keep walking to the door and trying to push the door open. They get a bag or a suitcase and start putting clothes in it. They talk about when to go home. Oh, I want to go home. Who's coming to get me? My daughter's coming to pick me up. They're giving you signs, so pay attention to those signs. We do see a lot of cases where residents get out of the windows, they tailgate behind a family member leaving, and the family member doesn't know, they hold the door and let them out, right? And your receptionist, I don't think he or she may not recognize that person should be leaving. And we've interviewed receptionists, and they're like, I thought it was a family member. So really making sure your staff know who is at risk for elopement. You know, we've seen some horrific cases of residents eloping out of facilities. Listen, I've had residents elope out of hospitals and ALFs, as you know, but eloping out of facilities, getting down the road, miles on end, you know, some hit by cars, some falling into a drainage ditch. So really make sure, you know, these are some things, be proactive. You know, before a resident is admitted to your nursing home, I'm sure you do your due diligence, right? You do your assessments, you know what type of resident, what services you need to provide to that resident. So getting to know that resident before they come in, what can you do to take care of that resident? We're still seeing, you know, falls at that IJ level. Unfortunately, your CPR, do not resuscitate. We're still seeing that. Sexual abuse, we've seen that in the little red arrows by these categories should never happen in this day and age in our healthcare facility, right? So we should never see cases of sexual abuse in our healthcare facilities. Choking, we've seen some very egregious incidents related to residents choking and subsequently dying. Those should never happen. We have some IJs related to infection control. That still seeing some of that. Unlicensed nurses, we've seen a couple of those. I have an example for you related to that. We do keep going out and seeing some with smoking, that comes up. Physical restraints, we've seen a very egregious case of physical restraints in a facility, and some of it, you know, goes back to that survey readiness and knowing your regulations. You know, I think we have newer folks coming into the industry and the business here, and I know you're in the business of taking care of folks, but know the regulations and know that you can't use a sheet to tie a resident in a bed. That is a physical restraint. So physical restraints at this day and age, we should never cite that at all at a low level, much less an immediate jeopardy. Suicide, we had a very serious suicide case, and opioid overdose, we did have one of those cases. But these are the areas, just the categories of immediate jeopardy that we have seen. So take this back to your facilities. Look at your facilities, either individually or from a company, a whole group of your facilities, and make sure that you're paying attention to these main areas that we see. So I did want to take a little